I've transmigrated. The glitch is kind. Yes, that was the first thought that crossed Yaping's mind after he transmigrated. He looked around with a wrinkled face, breaking out in a cold sweat. After 9 years of arduous effort, to the point of his whole body catching fire and blood streaming down, he had finally achieved great success in his studies. The people around him all looked at him with admiration. At this moment, Su Changyu, a man with platinum hair, flew across the sky. Yaping's expression went from dumbfounded to astonished. Then, it finally dawned on him and he exclaimed, "What is this? Could this world be one of cultivation?" Seeing his surprise, the system appeared and said, "It's possible that there was an error in the world's information. Don't worry, we can just start over. You can do it." The protagonist, utterly devastated, fell to his knees, trembling and sobbing. "What? Do you have any idea what I've been through for the past 9 years? What? Don't mess with me like this. I don't want to study anymore. Who would choose to study if they could cultivate immortality?" he cried. Suddenly, as if struck by a realization, the protagonist collected himself and muttered, "Hey, wait a minute. Transmigrating to cultivate immortality, isn't this the classic opening for many of those stories?" The protagonist, Yaping, now seemed intrigued by his own speculation and shouted, "In that case, my innate talent must be incredibly strong." The scene shifts to the spirit ascension ceremony. Yaping stands before a large stone embraced by a dragon statue, on which the words "no spiritual root" are carved. Seeing these 3 words, he could only weep and scream, "Do I want to go back to Earth? My transmigration is completely different from what's in the books." His words made everyone around him burst into laughter at his ignorance. Afterward, with a deeply wounded heart, Yaping sat down, lamenting his fate. Sob, 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 and I thought I was the protagonist. Just then, a man approached and asked, "Little friend, do you wish to cultivate immortality?" Hearing this, Yaping's spirits lifted again. With a joyful expression, he turned to answer. The scene changes to the Qingjun Dao sect. The imposing man, Sect Master Daoist Taihua, spoke, "Changyu, I have a mission for you." At this, he suddenly burst into tears, grabbing the shoulders of the young man named Su Changyu before him. He shook him and said, "My dear disciple, you must help your master with this important matter." The young man, Su Changyu, calmly held his teacup, took a sip, and slowly replied, "What important matter could a small sect like ours possibly have?" The sect master, agitated, cupped his own face with his hands and said, "Listen. Not long ago, the higher ups issued a new law," the sect master explained with frustration. "Unless we can gather 8 disciples within a year and elevate the sect to the 3rd rank, they will shut down lowly sects like ours." The senior disciple, however, casually sipped his tea and replied with an air of indifference, "Then just find one more person. How could it be that easy?" The sect master retorted, "I just went to the Spirit Ascension Assembly yesterday. All the sects were frantically fighting over disciples, the asking prices were sky high. Some people even turned their backs and gossiped. A monthly stipend of only 3 silver taels, and they expect to recruit anyone. Are they giving alms to beggars?" The sect master continued. "Some were even shameless enough to use honey traps." He recalled a scene at the assembly where a blonde girl had lured away a potential disciple with a single offer. "Little brother, how about dual cultivating with me?" After waiting for half a day, he went on, "I finally picked up a disciple named Yaping. Although he's just a naive boy with no spiritual root, he has a good attitude, and more importantly, he doesn't require a stipend. Immortal talent is just an external possession. As long as you agree to teach me cultivation, I'll agree to anything." One shouldn't just think about what benefits the sect can offer, but what one can do for the sect. The sect master looked at Su Changyu and continued to pour his heart out. "Su Changyu, you tell me, where else could we find a good disciple like this? But I'm worried. Once he figures out the true situation of our sect and discovers we have absolutely nothing, he'll definitely run for the hills. However, your master has come up with a brilliant plan," he said, a cunning glint in his eyes. "To put it simply, we'll pretend to be peerless masters. You'll lead your fellow disciples and take turns making up some impossible to comprehend cultivation techniques to teach him. The goal is to stall for time. After a year, once the sect's situation has stabilized, we'll let him choose whether to stay or leave." Su Changyu, maintaining his nonchalant demeanor while blowing on his fingernails, replied, "And here I thought it was some earth-shattering matter. You were so serious. So it's just about putting on an act." With that, he stood up, bowed to the sect master, and asked, "Master, do you know what nickname my junior brothers and sisters have given me?" His eyes flashed with a cool light as he answered his own question. "The useless disciple, the pose king of Qingyun Mountain." He rubbed his chin thoughtfully and added, "It's fitting. When it comes to putting on an act, If I claim to be second best in this Kangjian mountain, no one would dare claim to be first. He then struck a pose like a narcissistic movie star with a backhash and exclaimed, "You came to the right person for this. This is my specialty, ha ha ha." Looking at that annoyingly narcissistic posture, the sect master thought helplessly, is this really something to be proud of? His face darkening, the sect master repeated seriously, "No matter what, change you just need to successfully keep him here for 1 year." Before he could finish, Su Changyu held up a hand to stop him. "Of course. If I'm on the case, keeping a little target like him is a piece of cake. To handle a little white rabbit, I only need to exert a little effort." While thrusting his hips forward and adopting a grazy tone, he continued, "At the very least, I'll make him admire the King Yun sect more than he admires immortals, and in his next life, he will still be a person of the King Yun sect." Seeing the twisting and writhing performance of his good disciple, the sect master could only stare wide-eyed and clap pretentiously. "Whoa, starting already. Not bad, not bad." The king of pretentiousness of King Yun truly lives up to his name. Energized by the praise, Su Chengdu boldly declared, "If I don't complete this mission, I will eat this sword with soy sauce." With that, he stood up and clasped his hands respectfully. "If there's nothing else, this disciple will take his leave. I will be waiting for him in the back mountains tonight." The sect master replied politely, "All right, I will come pick you up by flying on my sword." The heroic Su Chengdu turned to leave and waved a dismissive hand. "No need. As they say, a scholar who has been away for 3 days must be looked at with new eyes. The me of today is no longer the little disciple who needs his master to pick him up." As he finished speaking, he raised his arm and pointed his index finger toward the ground. This action made the sect master and the fat bird beside him exclaim in astonishment, "Oh, this hand sign, could it be that he has truly achieved it?" Then striking another cool pose, he raised his arm, pointed to the sky, and yelled, "Sword, park." The sect master was so shocked and overjoyed that he cursed, "Holy hell, is that really the sword writing art? How is that possible? He's clearly just a mediocre disciple who couldn't even master a single sword style in 10 years. After he spoke, the space fell silent. There was only a light breeze and a single leaf that drifted in from nowhere. As if realizing something, the sect master and the fat bird froze, whispering in disbelief. Surely, Su Chengdu wasn't about to revert to his usual joking demeanor and continue with, "Haha, I couldn't help myself. I just had to show off again. What do I know about swordsmanship? I'll have to trouble master to give me a ride." The sect master, speechless, buried his face in his hands, praying that the new disciple wouldn't be driven mad by Su Chengdu. Night fell on the back mountain. Under the bright moonlight, a lonely figure sat on a cliff, watching a flock of cranes fly by. That figure was none other than Su Chengdu. He squatted on the cliff's edge, his whole body huddled and trembling from the cold wind. In order to create the right atmosphere, Su Chengdu had even gone to the trouble of finding a beautiful spot to put on his axe. But then a gust of wind made him shiver, his nose turning red from the cold. Hearing a sound, he regained his solemn expression and thought to himself, "He's here, he's here." He turned towards the moonlight, striking a pose, ready to perform, and muttered, "Get ready, it's show time." Yiping, having climbed the mountain all day, was finally exhausted, panting heavily. This mountain is so high. Phew. As expected, immortals are truly extraordinary. After catching his breath, Yiping looked up and was stunned by the sight before him. Under the bright moonlight, a majestic male figure stood with his hands clasped behind his back. Yes, it was none other than our posturing god, Su Chengdu. Sensing Yiping's gaze, Su Chengdu glanced over. At that moment, winding streams of blue light began to radiate from his body, further mesmerizing Yiping. He began to gesture his hand over his sword, and a brilliant blue light enveloped it, creating a scene as beautiful as a painting. Standing behind, Yiping was startled by the scene, thinking to himself, a sword immortal. But then, a doubt arose as he felt that something wasn't right. A sect willing to accept a worthless person like me with no spiritual power should be very weak, right? Why would it have a disciple with such an outstanding aura? Then, Yiping's jaw dropped in sudden realization. No way, this sect looks ordinary on the outside, but it must actually be a top-tier sect. And within the sect, there must be a hidden master who will help me ascend, right? That's probably it. He continued to ponder his thoughts. It's like this morning. When I followed master into the sect, an overwhelming feeling of desolation washed over me. I didn't feel anything special then, but thinking back now, it's a cultivation sect after all. How could it be so ruined? And even if it was truly in ruins, every nook and cranny was strangely clean. It's too abnormal. Everything I see is abnormal. Perhaps he's being deliberately humble to conceal his true strength. Ye Ping thought. If so, then everything makes sense. With this in mind, Ye Ping looked towards Su Changju with sparkling eyes full of admiration and shouted, "Among the million sword immortals in the world, all must bow their heads when they meet me, and with senior brother's peerless aura." Su Changju was quite taken aback by Ye Ping's statement. He turned and repeated it to himself, "Among the million sword immortals in the world, all must bow their heads when they meet me." He found Ye Ping to be a rather interesting lad, and the line was sufficiently pretentious, so he added it to his collection of boastful quotes. He hadn't expected to gain a new catchphrase just by coming out for a meeting. Since junior brother has offered such praise, it would be rude of me not to respond in kind, he thought. Su Changju waved his hand in a circle, and a brilliant light shone forth. Senior brother didn't prepare anything, so please accept this gift of a fortuitous opportunity. That swirling light was nothing more than a common, man-made breeze, but in Ye Ping's eyes, it was a profound magical art. Su Changju put on a solemn face and announced, "I am the eldest senior brother of the King Yun sect. This gust of wind is actually a secret art of creation, capable of enhancing your cultivation talent." Ye Ping was in awe. Whoa, a cool breeze can upgrade one's cultivation talent. How could an ordinary sect possibly do that? He bowed respectfully and said loudly, "Thank you for your immense grace, senior brother." He felt he could truly never repay this debt. Meanwhile, Su Changju hid his trembling arm, which he had strained from posturing too hard, behind his back. "I used too much force and dislocated my arm," he thought, but still tried to appear calm, replying, "It's a small matter." Internally, he couldn't help but laugh. What secret art of creation? It was just a breeze so light it couldn't be lighter. He slowly sat down on a large rock and said, "Little junior brother, before I impart the way of the sword to you, I have a question to ask." Everything seemed to be unfolding exactly as Ye Ping had read in books. He chuckled to himself, "I've seen this script before. Before a peerless master imparts a secret art, they always ask a question." Indeed, Su Changju said, looking straight at Ye Ping. "What do you believe is the highest realm of the sword?" He thought slyly, a question this profound could only be conceived by a braggart like myself. "Go on, answer. No matter what you say, it will be wrong, which will only serve to highlight my own unfathomably deep understanding of the sword Dao." Ye Ping stood silently, his face completely blank. His mind was racing. The scent of this question is just like in the stories. A hidden master. It must be. These questions sound simple, but they actually contain profound meaning. If it were an ordinary person, they would definitely answer with something like killing 10,000 men in 10 steps. I can't answer this carelessly. No matter what, I must be extremely cautious. Seeing Ye Ping across from him, lost in thought, black lines formed on Su Changju's forehead. He thought to himself, "I just asked a random question, you don't have to be so serious about it." 1 hour later. Su Changju still hadn't received an answer from Ye Ping. His face darkened as he thought, "It's been an hour, big brother, are you done yet? I'm about to freeze to death on this mountain." Having lost all patience, he spoke up, interrupting Ye Ping's train of thought. "All right. Just tell me your answer." Ye Ping shyly poked his index fingers together and replied, "Senior brother, I believe the highest realm of the sword is that a single blade of grass can cut down the stars." This answer stunned Su Changju. He imagined a blade of grass cut down the stars. He couldn't believe his ears and cursed internally, "Holy crap, I Su Changju have practiced the sword for so long, and the strongest person I've ever met only claimed that a single strike could sever mountains. A single blade of grass cutting down the stars. What level of bullshitting is this?" Seeing Su Changju remain silent, Ye Ping hurriedly waved his hands. "Did I say something too exaggerated? I hope senior brother won't blame me." Su Changju seemingly turned to stone, thought, "This kid is something else. Words as precious as gold. He's on the same wavelength as me. This line is great, and from now on, it's mine too." But in the end, Su Changju replied, "It is indeed too exaggerated. The path of cultivation has always valued stability. This ideal of yours is far too lofty." As Ye Ping had expected, he sadly admitted his mistake. Junior brother was wrong. Su Changju picked up his sword, drew it from its sheath, and said, "How about this?" He swung the sword in a perfect arc, a single slash carving a line in the ground that separated him from Ye Ping. He then said, "Senior brother will leave a sword mark for you. This sword mark can be seen as ordinary, but if you say it isn't ordinary, it also contains the strongest sword intent. How much you can comprehend from it will depend on yourself. Come see me again in 7 days." At this point, Yiping was hopelessly lost in admiration, thinking, the strongest sword intent. He's 100 a hidden master. I've struck gold. I'm just too lucky. I've really encountered a reclusive, powerful sect. After bidding farewell, Su Changju skipped down the mountain, thinking happily, time to find second junior brother and show off a bit. Suddenly the figure of a young woman by the roadside called out, eldest senior brother. It turned out to be a stunning beauty. She asked, what do you think of the new junior brother's innate talent? As Su Changju looked over, she waved at him. Oh, Su Changju replied, little junior sister, ambushing me again. The girl jumped off a large rock and ran closer to Su Changju, continuing, I was just curious. This was perfect, however. He could use her to test the effect. He asked, junior sister, let's not talk about that for a moment. Senior brother wants to ask you, do you know the highest realm of the sword Dao? Seeing her senior brother's serious expression, the girl answered timidly, Puff. What does the sword Dao have to do with me? Su Changju put on his expert facade again. Turning his back and pointing to the sky, he explained, let me tell you, the highest realm of the sword Dao is that a single blade of grass can cut down the stars. Looking at the scene before her and hearing those magnificent words, the girl stared at Su Changju, completely dazed. Then, she said shyly, so handsome. His eldest senior brother's bullshitting level increased again. Su Changju chuckled, striking a self-satisfied pose as he spoke. Haha. That's right. Cool, isn't it? The little girl then asked again, you should answer my question now. He glanced in Yiping's direction up on the mountain, and replied, how long will it take for our junior brother to comprehend sword intent? How could he possibly comprehend it? Su Changju thought to himself. I can't even do it myself. The little girl's face darkened as she asked again, I meant common sword intent. But all she received was Su Changju's blunt reply, I don't know either, which made her face freeze. 2 hours later, on the rear peak of the mountain, Yiping was still squatting, seriously studying that utterly ordinary crack. No matter how I look at it, it's just a normal crack. How can there be any sword intent here? Surely, he's not deceiving me. He thought. Then, Yiping shook his head and shouted, Yiping, what nonsense are you thinking? Everything that happened before is enough to prove he is a supreme master. As if possessed, Yiping slammed his hand on the ground, lowered his face close to the crack, and yelled, it must be that I am not trying hard enough. A determined glint shone in his eyes as he stared at the crack, affirming, that's right, that must be it. Time continued to pass. Yiping kept staring at the crack, silently encouraging himself. Keep going, Yiping. Keep going. Suddenly, a figure appeared in Yiping's subconscious. The figure held a long sword and began to demonstrate various techniques. A sound like a great bell echoed in his ears. 4 types of sword forms and 12 moves became increasingly clear. Then, he felt as if he had personally practiced the sword, not just once, but repeatedly, once, twice, 3 times. It became faster and faster, with more and more moves, 15, 20, a sensation even more shocking than receiving a sudden, profound enlightenment. The scene at this moment was also miraculous. The moonlight shone through the crevices of the mountain rocks, illuminating Yiping from behind, while he sat stunned and speechless. What in the world just happened? It must be eldest senior brother, recalling the moment he received the gust of wind from Su Changju. Yiping thought, I can't believe a simple gust of wind could truly increase my talent so terrifyingly. He's not just a peerless master. Overwhelmed with happiness, tears streamed down Yiping's face. After being unlucky for so long, my fortune has finally turned. It was so wrong of me to doubt eldest senior brother before. With that thought, Yiping continued to stare at the crack, telling himself not to get too excited. This is just the beginning. This sword mark surely holds many more techniques to be comprehended. 7 days later, at Su Changju's residence. In a room already filled with Su Changju's props for showing off, he took a moment before Yiping's arrival to arrange his treasure boxes to be as eye-catching as possible. Then, Su Changju donned a robe and stepped outside. Today is a beautiful day, he exclaimed. Very suitable for boasting. He pushed the door open and announced with great vigor, let's go, little junior brother. Here I come. As Su Changju was leisurely strolling to the meeting point with Yiping, the brilliant, glaring sun made him feel exhaustedly sick. I should have picked a different spot if I'd known, he thought. Annoyed, his face darkened, and he muttered, why does everyone think practicing the sword is so simple? It's really infuriating. He recalled the conversation with his little junior sister 7 days prior. What do you mean? She had asked. You're saying you don't know sword content yourself? That's right, Su Changju had answered nonchalantly. Covering her mouth to suppress a burst of laughter, she had said, "Teft, senior brother, you're really too much. You've been practicing the sword for over 10 years. And you don't even know what sword intent is." Su Changyu angrily chopped his junior sister on the head, yelling, "Fei, don't talk about things you don't understand. The path of the sword isn't that simple." He narrowed his eyes, trying to salvage what little was left of his image, and explained, "This Four Thunder sword technique that I practice isn't some simple sword style. You know, it's ranked among the top 10 in Kingzhou. Back in the day, the Four Seasons Daoist made his name throughout Kingzhou thanks to this very technique. This is a supreme sword art of pure yang, divided into 4 sets: spring, summer, autumn, and winter. If someone were to master all 4 sets, they could summon the thunder of the 4 seasons. Each set is further divided into 4 minor realms: initial understanding, pure proficiency, great completion, and pinnacle of perfection." Hearing this, the girl became quite interested and asked, "Whoa, that sounds amazing. So, what level is senior brother at now?" He puffed out his chest and boasted, "I have reached the pure proficiency stage of the Spring Thunder Sword, with a total of 18 sword moves." She replied, "Puff, only the Spring Thunder? And just 18 moves?" That question made Su Changyu snap. He roared, "What do you mean only the Spring Thunder? There are only 4 realms in total. At this pace, I'm already considered a prodigy in Kingzhou." He widened his eyes and stared at his junior sister, trying to look impressive. "Your senior brother only took a mere 10 years to reach pure proficiency. In less than another 10 years, I'll definitely reach great completion, and in 100 years, the pinnacle of perfection. By then, you'll know just how powerful your senior brother is." The girl replied, "I know, eldest senior brother." Returning to the main topic, she continued, "But what if the new junior brother manages to comprehend sword intent on his own? What level of talent in the sword Dao would that be considered?" Su Changyu was taken aback by the question, but assuming everyone was like him, he scoffed, laughing as he waved his hand dismissively. "Sword intent. You really have a wild imagination, little junior sister. The most important thing in the sword Dao is sword intent. Sword techniques are only secondary. The more profound the sword intent, any ordinary technique can become a ultimate move. A simple thrust can become terrifyingly lethal. But the 3 great realms of sword intent are harder to reach than ascending to the heavens. The very first realm alone contains endless sword intent. In all 10 nations, there might be only one powerhouse who has barely managed to take half a step into it. The Taichu Sword Sovereign is revered as a guest of honor by all 10 nations." The girl persisted, "I'm just saying, what if? If he did comprehend it, what level would that be?" Su Changyu raised his thumb and wagged it back and forth, articulating each word clearly. "Absolutely impossible. Forget about our new junior brother. Even the #1 prodigy of Kingzhou couldn't possibly comprehend endless sword intent." Returning to the present, Su Changyu had walked a considerable distance. Finally, looking at the scene ahead, he muttered to himself, "I'm here. I wonder if junior brother is awake yet." Walking a little further, he saw Yeping kneeling on the ground before the sword mark he had left 7 days prior. Yeping was in the exact same posture, with dark circles under his eyes, so deep that a panda would have called him master. The sight left Su Changyu speechless. What the hell is this situation? Those dark circles. How long has it been since he slept? Don't tell me this idiot actually dedicated himself completely to the half-assed sword mark I left for him. Seeing Yeping in such a dilapidated state, he felt a genuine pang of guilt. This really makes me feel like a terrible person. You poor kid. For the sake of the sect, I can only let you suffer for now. I'll make it up to you later. Sensing a gaze on him, Yeping turned his panda-like face and greeted, "Eldest senior brother, you've arrived." When he saw Yeping turn, Su Changyu quickly put on his expert act and asked, "How is your practice going? Don't be discouraged. It's understandable that an ordinary person wouldn't be able to comprehend it." The moment the words left his mouth, Yeping dropped a bombshell. "I've comprehended it. It's all thanks to the opportunity that senior brother gave me." This information struck like a bolt from the blue, stunning Su Changyu. He hurriedly asked again, "What did you just say?" "I've comprehended it." Yeping clasped his hands, bowed, and replied, "Yes. Reporting to eldest senior brother, as of this morning, I have comprehended 400 sword moves." Hearing this, Su Changyu laughed internally. 400 sword moves. Theft. Is he trying to fool someone like me who hasn't even mastered the sword? I'm the one who casually drew that sword mark, how could I not know? This is hilarious. Standing a short distance away, Yeping saw Su Changyu standing with his arms crossed, a meaningful smile on his face. He thought to himself, what does eldest senior brother's faint smile mean? Is he laughing at how little I've comprehended? But isn't comprehending this much in a day considered quite a lot? Oh, I understand now. A supreme master like him must have comprehended tens of thousands of sword techniques. With his existing knowledge and previous fortuitous encounters, anyone with a bit of aptitude could surely comprehend thousands of sword moves in a single day. At this thought, Yiping cried inwardly, feeling that he was still too naive. Not believing him, Su Changju said, "There's no need to lie. This sword technique is profound. It's normal not to comprehend it. I won't look down on you for it." "I'm not lying," Yiping argued. "It's really 400. This answer successfully irritated Su Changju. He frowned, thinking, don't push it. Nobody likes a braggart with no real skill. Yiping, on the other hand, was deeply hurt, believing his senior brother felt that even 400 sword moves was not an achievement. The protagonist fidgeted with his index fingers, adopting a pitiful look. "Although my talent is poor, thanks to the opportunity you granted me earlier, 400 might not be a lot, but I still managed to do it." Su Changju felt as if he'd been slapped across the face. 400 is not a lot, he thought, trying to remain calm. Another one who looks down on the way of the sword. At this moment, Su Changju was genuinely a little angry. Although he was no top-tier expert, he knew that in this world, countless ordinary people suffer greatly on their path to growth. They are always criticized by others for their slow progress, which in turn makes them feel terrible. He spoke with a stern face. "Fine. In that case, demonstrate all the sword intents you have comprehended for me to see." Su Changju decided it was time to teach Yiping a lesson to help him mature. Yiping agreed without a moment's hesitation. Seeing this, Su Changju warned, "You still dare to agree? If you're too stubborn, you'll have no face left later." This was a piece of advice from a professional pretender. Not keeping Su Changju waiting, Yiping gripped his sword with both hands and began to execute the sword techniques he had comprehended. He raised the sword, a determined glint flashing in his sharp eyes, and then began to perform the moves one by one. Each swing of the sword created arcs of light like brilliant, burning flames. He executed the sword forms with lightning speed, reaching 36 moves in the blink of an eye. Su Changju could only stand to the side, silent as a stone, watching Yiping's performance. The more he watched, the more he was drawn in by Yiping's every movement. He was petrified to see an ordinary person comprehend so many sword techniques, possibly even surpassing him, who had practiced the sword for 10 years. Yiping's sword moves became faster and fiercer, showing no signs of stopping even after reaching the 36th move. Swept up in the moment, Yiping continued to demonstrate the techniques with fluid mastery. Until, boom. Deafening sound erupted. The ground around Yiping exploded with sand and dust as he executed the 108th move. Simultaneously, a massive thunderclap roared from the sky, completely shaking Su Changju to his core. Before his eyes, countless bolts of lightning converged into a form that was all too familiar to him, a thunder dragon. It had even appeared in his dreams countless times. Amidst thousands of lightning bolts, a majestic dragon with blazing eyes appeared. The roar of a dragon echoed through the space. Su Changju froze on the spot. He was so shocked he could barely breathe, his legs stiff and unable to move. He thought to himself, "That's a real, genuine dragon's roar." This was the hallmark of the 4 Thunder Sword technique at the Great Completion stage. My greatest dream these past few years has been to master the Spring Thunder Sword to the Great Completion stage, to be able to hear the legendary dragon's roar. I would have felt it was worth it even if I died. He was so bewildered he felt his eyes would pop out of their sockets as he thought, but this kid in front of me has only been practicing the sword for 7 days, and he's already done it. Impossible. Absolutely impossible. Just as Su Changju was reeling from one shock to another, not yet over his astonishment, another dragon's roar, this one with a green light, appeared. A thunder dragon coalesced from green lightning, symbolizing the great completion of the summer thunder sword. Before it could disappear, the autumn thunder dragon followed, seeming to appear at the same instant. The 2 dragon roars cried out in rivalry. The summer and autumn swords had reached completion simultaneously, a sight never before seen, ever even heard of. At this moment, Yiping's sword did not weaken, on the contrary, it grew faster and faster, the speed increasing until it became like a true phantom image. The physical sword could no longer be seen, only the bright arcs of light left by its slashes. The Winter Thunder Sword technique, one of the most powerful forms of the Thunder Sword finally reached its grand final. The great completion of this sword technique brought a completely different feeling from the other 3. Beads of sweat were now constantly streaming from the top of Su Changju's head, showing just how shocked he was. He only felt an icy chill descend, and everything around him seemed to freeze. Time passed like this for a long while, until he reached the 432nd move, at which point Yiping finally came to a complete stop. The practice session after 7 days of forging was officially over. Su Changyu's face was now no different from the bottom of a soot-covered pot. He stood rooted to the spot, watching Yiping land safely after the stunning performance. At this moment, the 4 great sword techniques spring, summer, autumn, and winter had been perfectly completed by Yiping. Yes, Yiping himself could not move. The protagonist stood motionless, thinking to himself, something's not right. Not right at all. It seems I've become too reliant on the sword. The great formless Tao gives birth to all tangible things. Nothing is truly real. Yiping observed what lay beyond the material, and then observed himself. He now had an epiphany. That's right, he had been restrained by the sword itself. Yiping seemed to understand something and murmured, "What eldest senior brother wanted to tell me was this. Your common sword severs the internal organs, which is no different from a cockfight. But the sword of the Son of Heaven is restrained by the 5 elements, pioneering with yin and yang for the sake of all things under heaven." With that, Yiping raised his sword and drew it with a sharp glint in his eyes. Then a shocking explosion occurred. Su Changyu watched the scene unfold before him, thinking in horror, holy crap, don't tell me he's about to demonstrate another enlightened sword move. What the hell is this? Am I dreaming? If the Winter Thunder sword just now gave me a sense of ultimate destruction and death, then the aura of this moment is the complete opposite. It is rebirth. In just an instant, it felt like traversing 10,000 years, feeling a boundless and inexhaustible energy. This situation made Su Changyu feel even more deeply wounded, as if he had fallen into an unreal dream. Su Changyu looked at the formless sword before him, and felt that this sword was the entire world at this moment, as if a single wave of the hand could cut down an entire army. Thinking back to the situation just now, when Yiping had just summoned the formless sword. Wait a minute, Su Changyu thought, as if a sudden realization struck him. This is not. His eyes looked as if they were about to pop out of their sockets as he internally screamed, "Holy shit, isn't that sword intent?" A moment later, the sword intent, and the power surrounding Yiping gradually dissipated, revealing his figure standing in the center of the explosion. He was still holding the formless sword aloft. Slowly, the formless sword disintegrated as well. Seeing this, Yiping's eyes filled with regret, and he muttered under his breath, "Damn it, that feeling is gone. I can't feel anything at all anymore." Healing his own arm, Yiping lamented with a mix of awe and disappointment, such terrifying power. But to only succeed for a fleeting moment. My talent is truly too poor. Little did Yiping know, his eldest senior brother, Su Changyu, was still frozen in place, not out of contempt, but from being in complete and utter shock at Yiping's monstrous talent. Beads of sweat formed on Su Changyu's face. Yiping's recent words felt like knives stabbing into his heart. Talent. Too poor. He thought in agony. Su Changyu remembered how, as a child, he had the honor of witnessing the Taichu sword saint once, which was why he had so resolutely chosen the path of the sword. At that time, the sword saint hadn't mobilized any spiritual energy, yet the sheer force of his simple sword swing created a similar phenomenon, almost identical to what his junior brother had just done. It's absolutely the legendary peerless sword intent. This kid isn't just the #1 genius of the Jin Kingdom, but perhaps the #1 genius of all 10 kingdoms, with this kind of ability to comprehend sword techniques. Even without spiritual energy, he can reach the pinnacle of the sword Dao with the help of auxiliary magic tools and talismans in the future. Returning to reality, Yiping saw that Su Changyu was still standing motionless. Mistaking it for disappointment, he spoke up, "Eldest senior brother, I know the sword moves I've just comprehended are very ordinary, but I will strive to work even harder. I hope you won't be disappointed." Again, his innocent words were like salt rubbed into Su Changyu's wounded heart. His nose started to run, and he felt numb. "Not much. My entire life's work probably doesn't even measure up to your toenail," he thought despairingly. "But I absolutely cannot lose my composure. A peerless genius like this. I absolutely cannot let him get away. I must maintain my image." Gathering a sliver of his shattered spirit, Su Changyu turned his back, then slightly tilted his head, affecting a wary and profound demeanor. In a deep voice, he said, "Indeed, quite ordinary." He was a picture of calm on the outside, but on the inside, his tears formed a vast ocean. Even as he uttered those words, Su Changyu was screaming in his mind, "If you're ordinary, then what the hell am I?" Standing behind him, Yiping naturally felt a little sad hearing his senior brother's assessment. He mumbled, "As I thought." Suddenly, Su Changyu seemed to notice something appear beside him and glanced over with surprise. His gaze fell upon a book on the rock. "What is this?" he asked curiously. Yiping hurried over, picked up the book, and replied, reporting to senior brother, "These are some comprehension notes I took during my cultivation. It's nothing of value." Su Changyu ambled over, bent down, and looked at the book with curiosity. "Notes on your comprehensions. I see. It's too embarrassing," Yiping replied flutteredly. Su Changyu snatched the book and flipped through it page by page, his eyes squinting as if he were looking at something incredibly profound. An excerpt from Yiping's notes read, "Within the first 50 moves of the Spring Thunder, senior brother wishes to teach me the principle that white sand in nirvana will become black sand. Within the first 100 moves of Spring Thunder, senior brother wishes to tell me the principle that all things are interconnected and in opposition. There is no superior, no inferior. Within the first 50 moves of the Summer Thunder, to hear straight is to be crooked, to be skillful is to be clumsy, to be eloquent is to be silent. Within the first 100 moves of the Summer Thunder." Holy hell, is this what you call self-privation and spontaneous transformation? Su Changyu thought, bewildered. From a single, nonsensical sword slash, this Yiping fellow comprehended so much. Reading the characters in the notes, Su Changyu felt an astonishment akin to seeing the starry sky for the first time. He recognized every single character, but when connected, they were as mysterious and profound as the vast galaxy. Though he couldn't understand it, he was deeply shaken. These principles. Did us say all of this? Su Changyu asked, stunned. Yiping quickly waved his hands in embarrassment. No, of course not. This disciple was just foolishly trying to record the tip of the iceberg. It surely doesn't even amount to 1/1000th of the profound teachings senior brother truly intended to impart. Every word Yiping spoke was another blow to Su Changyu's heart. He screamed internally, "Heavens! Why can't I understand a single word of this? How on earth did you comprehend all this? You fool, did you perceive the great Tao from thin air? What kind of monster are you? I, Su Changyu, have cultivated diligently for over 10 years and have only just begun practicing the introduction to the Spring Thunder Sword form. Yet this knave junior brother took only 7 days to master the entire 4 Thunder Sword forms to the level of great perfection. He even touched upon the astonishing, peerless sword intent." Feeling utterly crushed by his junior brother's monstrous comprehension, Su Changyu's Tao heart shattered. He wanted to fall to his knees and weep. "Oh, life. I'm so sorry." Returning to reality, Su Changyu turned to leave, and instructed in a low voice, "You continue your enlightenment. I will come again in a few days." Standing behind him, Yiping mumbled with a mix of worry and disappointment. Looking at senior brother's expression, something seems to be wrong. Could it be that he thinks my talent is too poor, and plans to send me away? Oh, please don't. It was so hard to find a place willing to accept me. For the past half year, he had participated in more than 50 heavenly ascension ceremonies, regardless of the sect's size. Then came the whispers and sneers from others about his lack of a spiritual root. I advise you not to think about cultivation anymore. It's just a waste of time. Give up early to save yourself the trouble. No one is willing to accept me. No sect will take me in. I can't just suddenly comprehend the great Tao by stargazing, can I? Right? Thinking this, Yiping's heart filled with determination. No matter what, I have to seize this opportunity. I absolutely cannot let it go. Besides, everyone in this sect is a peerless master. Come on, Yiping, you can do it. The scene shifts to the sect master's residence. Daoist Tai Huo was relaxing, sipping tea under the scorching sun. A look of pure bliss on his face, he murmured, "The weather lately really isn't bad." Sipping tea and admiring the flowers, how delightful. Suddenly, a shout from Su Changyu made Daoist Tai Huo jump. Master, this is bad." Su Changyu ran up to Daoist Tai Huo, panting as he said, "Master, something major has happened." Daoist Tai Huo calmly asked, "Su Changyu, what's got you so flustered? This isn't like you at all." Su Changyu, his face dead serious, replied, "Master, your dream might have just come true. Our Kingyun Dao sect has finally produced a dragon." Hearing this, Daoist Tai Huo's face lit up as if waking from a long slumber, his eyes shining and wide with extreme excitement. One could only hope he didn't have a heart condition. Looking at his face, it was a definite possibility. "Ha ha ha," Daoist Tai Huo exclaimed in shock. "A true dragon. Su Changyu, what do you mean?" Su Changyu's expression remained grave as he recounted. The new junior brother started from scratch, and in just 7 days, he has mastered the entire 4 Thunder Sword technique to the great completion stage. Daoist Tai Huo froze as if turned to stone upon hearing about the absurd talent of the new disciple, Yiping. His face went blank, and he breathed out 2 words, "The entire thing." In his mind, he screamed, "My heavens, this is a genius right here," but it sounded too incredible to be true. Daoist Taihua stepped forward and roared in Su Changju's face. Su Changju, this is no laughing matter. If you're lying, you'll swallow 1,000 needles for it. Su Changju replied in a fluster. The strange phenomenon in the sky just now was caused by the Four Thunder Sword technique reaching completion. Didn't you see it, master? Hearing this, Daoist Taihua seemed to recall the heaven-shaking scene from earlier. His entire body stiffened again, and he stammered, I thought it was some powerful expert leveling up near us. I never imagined it was Ye Ping. Daoist Taihua remembered the image of a roaring red fire dragon coiling in the sky above the sect. A majestic and terrifying sight. Tears streamed down his face. Daoist Taihua was so moved he burst into loud sobs, crying out, a genius. We have a genius. Our Qingyun Dao sect finally has a genius. After yelling that, Daoist Taihua looked as if he was about to ascend to the heavens, mumbling the word genius over and over. Seeing this, a panicked Su Changju rushed to support his master, calling out loudly, Master, calm down. Don't get sick from being too happy. Master, Daoist Taihua hastily grabbed the teapot and teacup from the table and poured the water over his own head to calm down. He muttered, calm down. But I almost lost control. The fortune teller said I would face a calamity when I turned 500. Su Changju stepped forward, his voice hesitant. But master, if we keep him in the sect, aren't we holding him back? Wiping his face with a towel, Daoist Taihua replied. Su Changju, you're overthinking it. Ye Ping has participated in over 50 ascension ceremonies, but no one would take him. For us to see his potential is a blessing for him, and a great thing for our sect. Besides, cultivators value fate. Others didn't choose him, but we did. This proves it was destined. Have you ever thought about what would really happen if he went to another sect? Let's not even talk about the jealousy among fellow disciples. Just the conflicts between sects, where they send people to assassinate geniuses just to stop their rivals from developing, are commonplace. Su Changju, stop being such a compassionate saint. Your master is not a greedy person. When the sect gets promoted to the 3rd rank, or the 2nd rank, I will tell him the truth. At this moment, Daoist Taihua's face radiated righteousness. He continued seriously, at that time, whether he wants to leave or stay will be his own decision. How about that? Su Changju, surprised but somewhat in awe, replied, disciple understands. I will follow master's words. Daoist Taihua instructed, do just that. And remember, you must not let any of this leak out. The next day, as usual, Daoist Taihua went out to the courtyard to sit and drink tea under the 40-degree sun, sipping his drink and admiring the flowers. It was a leisurely afternoon. He had just taken a sip when his eldest disciple came running from nowhere, shouting so loudly that the sect master spat out all the tea in his mouth. Master, this is bad. Su Changju's face was slick with sweat, his teeth clenched, and he looked utterly panicked. He stammered, It's happened again. Something big. Sensing a terrible premonition, Daoist Taihua felt a chill run down his spine. His calm demeanor from a moment ago vanished completely. The old man's eyes went dark as if he was afraid of something. Suddenly Daoist Taihua grabbed a bag and bolted, shouting instructions as he ran, I'm going into hiding. I'm leaving the sect in your hands. Su Changju. Su Changju hurriedly reached out and shouted, Master, it's not a debt collector, it's something else. Daoist Taihua froze, his face purple with anger. He turned back and asked, something else? Suddenly he leaped forward and kicked Su Changju in the back, yelling, then what are you panicking for? He scared the soul right out of me. Damn it. If you do that again, don't blame your master for pulling down your pants and flicking your thing, you hear me? A while later, at the sect master's residence, the atmosphere had returned to its usual quiet. Daoist Taihua was again calmly sitting and drinking tea in the sunny courtyard. He lifted his teacup and glanced over at Su Changju. Speak. What's the big deal? Are we about to be kicked out? Holding a piece of paper, Su Changju replied, you better see for yourself. Daoist Taihua took the paper, held it up with an air of indifference, and began to read. Qingyu Sect Management Office. Effective today, to prevent the abuse of disciple selection and fraudulent practices, an investigation into underperforming sects will commence. Within a 2-month period, submitting 10 low-grade spirit stones will clear a sect of any suspicion. Reading this, Daoist Taihua felt as if he had been struck by lightning. His face broke out in a cold sweat as he muttered in a panic, what the hell is this? He flew into a rage, slamming the table and chairs, and cursing, damn it. This is too much. Is this a robbery? Demanding spirit stones for no reason, bullying the weak. I must go to the capital and file a complaint. A brief note for contest. In the cultivation world, 1 copper coin can buy a baked bun. 10,000 silver coins equal 1 tael of gold, and 10 taels of gold are equivalent to 1 spirit stone. Returning to the scene, Daoist Taihua continued to roar. The entire King Yun sect would have to starve for a whole year to afford 10 of those spirit stones. Su Changju stepped in front of his master and asked, "Master, calm down. How many spirit stones does the sect have in total right now?" Looking as if he was about to go mad, Daoist Taihua clutched his head and mumbled, "This." He then embarrassedly held up 7 fingers, avoiding eye contact as he replied, "Probably about this much." Su Changju grinned happily. 7 spirit stones. That's enough. How could it be? Daoist Taihua interrupted. Su Changju's cheerful expression turned somewhat serious. 7 taels of gold. That's a bit tricky, but if everyone pools their resources, Daoist Taihua cut him off again. It's not 70. At this point, Su Changju's hope began to completely crumble. He pressed on, "Sect Master, don't tell me it's only 70 taels of silver." Daoist Taihua turned away in shame. "It's 70 copper coins. For the love of all that is holy," Su Changju screamed, horrified by the sect's utter poverty. 70 copper coins. How is that possible? Even if we've fallen on hard times, we are still a legitimate sect. It's true, Daoist Taihua stammered. He sat down on a chair and began to sob about his story. Originally, our sect still had some savings. But I thought it was a waste to just let the silver sit around. And I happened to hear about a new thing called a cultivation fund. The cultivation fund? Su Changju asked, astonished. Daoist Taihua continued his tale. The cultivation fund claimed that if you deposited money with them, you could earn a profit every month, and a large one at that. Many people were frantically fighting to invest. It wasn't easy for your master to secure a spot to invest. Not just anyone could get in. But who knew that while I was coveting his profits, he was coveting my principal? In just a few days, he took the money and ran. Sobbing, Daoist Taihua looked pitiful and innocent as he cried out, "Changju, your master was scammed. Come and comfort me." Su Changju's face was a picture of utter speechlessness. He's really impossible at this age, he thought. 70 copper coins. 10 taels of gold. But we're finished. Might as well just dissolve the damn sect. Su Changju was certain that this time, the King Yun Dao sect was truly done for. Suddenly, with courage from an unknown source, Daoist Taihua shot to his feet, his fist raised and his face full of determination. No matter what, as your master, we'll definitely bear this responsibility. If it really doesn't work out, we can only take a step back. At worst, I'll make a trip to the Jinglin mountain range. It wasn't easy to find a genius disciple. I absolutely cannot let the sect collapse. Beside him, Su Changju thought with a look of indifference, "Stop dreaming." At that very moment, thunder suddenly began to roar, and lightning flashed continuously on the peak of King Yun Mountain. Daoist Taihua and Su Changju jumped in fright, staring in horror at the small figure on the mountain peak. "The f*** is that?" Daoist Taihua stammered in shock. Su Changju frowned, looking up. "That's the direction of little junior brother's residence. What's going on?" Daoist Taihua turned to look at Su Changju with disbelief. How is that possible? Even a genius can't be that talented. It must be a coincidence, just a lightning strike. Don't overthink it. He then turned to pack his bags, saying as he worked, "Changju, your master has to go down the mountain for a while to see if I can borrow some spirit stones. Now that we have a genius, no matter the cost, I will not dissolve the sect. I'm leaving matters at home to you. The most important thing is to take good care of your little junior brother. Guide him well, and don't teach him any nonsense." Hearing his master's instructions, Su Changju quickly clasped his hands and bowed respectfully. "Yes, master." You can rest assured. 4 days later, on the back mountain of King Yun, a figure was still practicing passionately on the rocky peak. It was the young man, He Ping. Sword in hand, he leaped into the air, slashing wildly up, down, left, right. There was no direction left untouched by his blade. Each sword strike left a trail of golden sword kai in the air, a sight that was ridiculously magical. As scheduled, Su Changju went up the mountain peak again to check on the practice results of his genius junior brother. Seeing his junior brother's ever-increasing progress, dancing and twirling his sword, Su Changju stared blankly and thought, it's only been 7 days, and he's already learned so many new sword moves. If this continues, won't he reach the limit in just a few more days? The earlier phenomenon was indeed caused by his breakthrough. Damn it, if there's nothing important, I'm never coming here again. It's both a blow to my ego and stressful as hell. Sensing someone's arrival, He Ping glanced behind him. Seeing it was Su Changju, He Ping quickly turned, clasped his hands, and bowed in greeting. Eldest senior brother has arrived. Su Changju put on the air of a refined senior brother, raising a hand and saying, "At ease. How has your practice been?" Clasping the hilt of his sword with both hands, the innocent-faced Ye Ping replied with a hint of shy embarrassment, "I've just fully comprehended all 1460 sword moves. It was a bit slow, but I guess it can be considered a success." Though his exterior was strong and composed, Su Changju was crying a river on the inside. Both. All of them. Fully comprehended. My most exaggerated prediction still seems to have underestimated you. This is too bitter. Sub. Returning to reality, Su Changju resumed his god-tier bullshitting and instructed his junior brother. Ye Ping, listen here. Even though your sword moves have reached the pinnacle of perfection, this is only the beginning. After this, there is still sword momentum and sword intent. Sword moves are already complex. But what is called sword momentum is encompassing all the moves of a sword set into a single strike. Only after condensing sword momentum can one be considered a true sword cultivator. Understand? Hearing his senior brother's reminder, Ye Ping once again fell into disappointed contemplation. So I'm still not even considered a sword cultivator. As for Su Changju, after saying those words, he was scheming internally, I have to bullshit even more, otherwise this kid's talent will be completely exposed in just 3 days. While he was thinking, Ye Ping suddenly remembered something, and turned to ask, "Oh, that's right, senior brother, what realm have you reached now?" Su Changju began to unleash his peak-level bullshitting skills, striking a cool pose and saying, "Your senior brother. I have only just stepped into the initial stage of the legendary Supreme Sword Dao's endless sword intent." As he spoke, Su Changju was gloating inwardly, "Oh ho, this feels so awesome." As for Ye Ping, hearing his senior brother's words, he believed him completely. With the look of someone admiring their idol, his eyes shone brightly as he exclaimed in his heart, "Whoa, sword intent. Endless sword intent, just the name sounds cool." As expected of eldest senior brother, he's truly a hidden master. I must follow him for my entire life. Across from him, Su Changju puffed out his chest, and continued, "After mastering sword momentum, you will enter the Supreme Realm. The Supreme Realm is divided into 3 stages. The first stage is endless sword intent. Don't look down on it just because it's the first stage. Upon entering this realm, you are already the number 1 in the 10 nations." Ye Ping exclaimed, "Amazing." Suddenly, as if a thought struck him, Ye Ping cried out in his heart, "Wait a minute. Doesn't that mean eldest senior brother is at least the number 1 in the 10 nations right now? I always thought he was a master, but I never thought he was this masterful. If I learn from him, won't I have the chance to become number 2? I never thought this day would come for me. Ye Ping. The ancestral grades must be emitting green smoke to bless me." At this thought, Ye Ping clasped his hands and declared loudly, "Junior brother will definitely catch up to senior brother. In this life, I must step into endless sword intent, and after I make a name for myself, I will absolutely not forget senior brother's kindness." Su Changju's heart was bitter. He turned his face away, thinking, "Don't say any more. This is too painful." As for Ye Ping, after making his solemn vow, he turned and looked up at the high heavens, thinking, "This feels like a dream. Just a few days ago, I was just an ordinary person struggling to survive, and now I have learned the sex sword techniques. My spirits are truly soaring." Ye Ping was so moved by the scene that he freaking became a poet. The young man stood and recited a few lines. 1. Love the fatherland, love the people. 2. Study well, labor well. 3. Maintain good hygiene. 4. Be humble, honest, and brave. Hearing these words, Su Changju exclaimed internally, "Oh, that's beautiful." Su Changju spoke up, "I heard from master that you were a scholar before." Ye Ping turned back with a smile and replied, "Half of one, I guess. I never achieved any official rank, but I have a keen interest in studying and the art of painting." Su Changju smiled. "Then help senior brother paint a portrait." In his mind, Su Changju was calculating. In the future, if Ye Ping truly ascends, won't I have something new to brag about? See this. The number 1 sword cultivator of the Jin Nation once painted a portrait for me. Everyone will admire me to death. Ha ha, I'm so smart, I even impress myself. On Ye Ping's side, after hearing Su Changju's sudden request, he answered awkwardly, "A painting. Please. Alright, if it doesn't turn out well, I hope you won't mind." A little backstory on Ye Ping, folks. In his past life, he pursued his goddess by joining a painting academy and practicing arduously for 3 years, finally learning the skill. And yet, the goddess ran off with a second-generation rich kid. Damn. Ye Ping's goddess from his past life had some big lungs. Huh. But man, That rich dude's interface was loaded. It's true, learning to paint can't save a single dog. So humiliating. Ha ha ha. Returning to the present, the scene shifts to 1 hour later. Ye Ping was diligently painting a portrait of Su Changju. While standing and posing, Su Changju peeked over at Ye Ping. Seeing Ye Ping's focused expression, Su Changju thought, this kid's serious look is quite handsome. He even resembles me a bit. Not long after, the work was completed. Ye Ping timidly presented the scroll and said shyly, I've finished the drawing, senior brother, Ye Ping said. Please don't blame me if it's not very good. Curiously, Su Changju took the painting, unrolled it, and replied, don't worry, let your senior brother have a look. The moment he opened it, he was turned to stone. The young man's face froze like a statue as he muttered, this painting. Holy hell. It looked as realistic as a photo taken with an iPhone 16 Pro Max. To draw with such lifelike realism, what else could he be but a true genius? Su Changju stared blankly at the painting, murmuring to himself. In the artwork, the auspicious light of auspiciousness filled the sky, making the Qingyun mountain range look like a celestial paradise. The flowers and grass were vibrant, and the small details were exquisitely real. The most prominent feature was, of course, himself. Just a side profile managed to perfectly capture the commanding aura of a sword immortal. Everything in the painting felt so vivid and alive that it struck the viewer straight in the heart. Looking at the painting, Su Changju could feel that he was an incredibly powerful figure, capable of destroying heaven and earth with a single punch. In reality, however, he was utterly useless. Ha ha ha. Returning to the present, Su Changju commented aloud, this painting is not bad. However, with his innate talent for bluffing, he immediately added a bit of criticism. I can reluctantly accept it. If there is a flaw, it's that it failed to capture the full extent of my handsomeness. This isn't due to your skill level, but because I am simply too handsome. The poor, innocent Ye Ping thought this was genuine praise and replied happily, thank you for the compliment, senior brother. I've always wanted to thank you for your teachings. Please consider this a small token of my appreciation. Su Changju slightly unrolled the portrait of himself and was surprised to see a line of text in a red seal next to the image. He uttered. In the red seal were 4 characters, King Lion Jushi the Green Lotus Lay Scholar. King Lion Jushi. Su Changju thought to himself in surprise. This kid knows how to be pretentious, too. He even came up with a title for me. Just then, the voice of Taoist Tai Hua suddenly transmitted into Su Changju's ear from out of nowhere. Changju. Your master has thought of a plan to save the sect. Get over here. Quick. Don't make me wait. Or don't blame me for being a pervert if I have to pull down your pants and flick your thing. Startled by the voice, Su Changju mumbled in his head, it's a voice transmission from master. He's found a way to save the sect. With that much money needed, did he go and sell his body? But then again, who would even buy him? In a situation this dire, what other solution could there be? Su Changju took the painting and bid farewell to Ye Ping. I'll be taking this painting. Thanks you. Ye Ping replied. Of course, eldest senior brother. It's a small matter. Things like this are easy for me. If you like it, I can draw a few more for you to hang around your room later. At the same time, in one of the 3 great sects of Qingzhou, the Tei Sword sect, a fire dragon appeared, identical to the one Ye Ping had unleashed 7 days prior. It was roaring with its massive mouth wide open. It had to be said that to unleash such a fire dragon was something only the old monsters of the major sects were capable of. In the Enlightenment Cliff Mountain Range, a group of people sat in seclusion, cultivating. Above them, purple lightning bolts crashed down, a scene of awe and inspiring power. In real life, if we saw lightning like this, we'd all be running for our lives, right? Aha. But these guys are using it to achieve enlightenment. A man and a woman stood not far away, watching the scene in astonishment. The man's face was covered in sweat as he exclaimed in awe, as expected of the 4 Seasons ancestor. A single sword mark, is this terrifying? The courteous beauty with an ample bosom beside him smiled coquettishly and said, stop talking nonsense. Otherwise, why would everyone be sitting here? The sword mark of an ordinary swordsman would not be worthy of my time to comprehend. Crack. As they were chatting, a bolt of lightning suddenly struck the ground about 2 meters behind them, sending earth and rocks flying. A man standing nearby threw his head back and shouted with glee, I've comprehended it, I've comprehended it. This young master has comprehended it. Great perfection. So this is all it is. Ha ha ha. Hearing this, the man and woman who had just been chatting turned in surprise to see who had made the breakthrough. The shorter-haired man's face was blank with a hint of jealousy as he muttered, Heavens, eldest senior brother Shu Heng has truly achieved enlightenment. That's the great perfection of the Spring Thunder Sword. He's so strong. The well-endowed girl was full of admiration. The Four Seasons ancestor once said that even a genius would need 3 years to reach great perfection. Senior brother Xu Heng only took 1 year. Yes, as expected of a genius of the 10 great sword daos of Kangto. Such talent. I can only look up in awe. If these folks saw Ye Ping's talent, their self-esteem would probably shatter completely, don't you think? Nearby, another group was also watching Xu Heng's breakthrough intently. A man with his purple hair tied in a ponytail stood behind another man, his hands clasped as he said with a smile, to be able to recruit a genius like this, senior brother Ming Jian truly has a discerning eye. Congratulations, congratulations. At this rate, Xu Heng will surely take first place in the Kinghu Sword Dao Assembly. Hearing such flattery, Ming Jian grinned broadly. Not at all. It's just great perfection. What's the big deal? Senior brother Ming Jian, you are too modest, the other man said. Another man standing beside Ming Jian, with a fierce face and a thick beard, seemed less pleased. He grunted. Kingzhou is full of hidden masters. Isn't it a bit too early to be talking about first place? Just as he was enjoying the praise, this man had poured a bucket of cold water on his head. Ming Jian shot a glare at the man, clearly annoyed, but he didn't want to lose the demeanor of a master. He let out a sigh, closed his eyes slightly, and said in a calm, even tone indeed. Elder Chen is right. How could it be Hanger's turn? His disciples, although it took a full year to reach the initial stage of cultivation, must have been confident enough to let Hanger proceed first, deliberately holding off on their own breakthroughs. Hearing these words, Elder Chen resentfully gnashed his teeth, glared at Ming Jian, and growled, "You brat, are you mocking me?" At this moment, the purple-haired man with a ponytail stepped forward to mediate, grinning as he said, "All right, you two senior brothers. Don't argue anymore. We're all one family." Being at the very top is a bit of an exaggeration, but this time, the sect master has given an order. No matter what, we must place in the top 10. Hearing this, Ming Jian and Elder Chen were startled and turned to exclaim, "Oh, why is that?" The other man raised a finger and replied with a slight smile, "You two senior brothers have just come out of seclusion, so you wouldn't know. This time, those who place in the top 10 will receive a Supreme Mystery Sword Tower token." Boom. The news struck the two like a thunderclap. This prize was tempting enough to move even them. They were truly going all out this time. The ponytailed man continued, "What it means to be able to enter the Supreme Mystery Sword Tower to challenge its levels. I probably don't need to say more, do I?" Hearing this, Ming Jian laughed, a wide grin on his face as he clenched his fist, speaking as if the prize was already his. "Haha, that plays right into my hands. This time, my disciple and I must get into the top 10. Tell the sect master not to worry." Elder Chen, standing beside Ming Jian, sighed softly and reminded him in a low voice, "Humph, don't speak too soon. If you end up losing to a disciple from another sect, it will be incredibly embarrassing." As soon as Elder Chen finished speaking, both Ming Jian and the ponytailed man bent over, howling with laughter. Ming Jian, still laughing, replied, "Fine, if there really is a disciple from outside the 3 great sects who can defeat Hanger, 8, this old man will scrub your toilet for a year. What's more, I'll even do it while doing a handstand. How about that? Oh, it's over." Hearing this, you all probably know the fate of this Ming Jian, don't you? When faced with Ye Ping, his disciple will be a champion in name only. The scene shifts back to the residence of the King Yun Dao sect's master. The scenery is the same as ever, peaceful, with cranes flying all around. After being summoned by his master, Su Changyu quickly ran over. When he arrived, he was completely astonished to see his master had, from somewhere, produced a pile of antiques on the table, cups, bowls, necklaces, and some kind of gear. Su Changyu gritted his teeth, his face pale with disappointment as he said, This is the money-making method you were talking about." He thought to himself, "Salvation. I thought master had found a good method. This way will just ruin the sect's reputation. What's the point of cultivating anymore?" Looking at the pile of old junk on the table, Su Changyu's heart sank. He felt his entire body turn to stone, rooted to the spot, as he loudly asked Daoi's Tai Hua, "This pile of scrap metal is your method? Relying on this pile of scrap metal to make money?" Daoi's Tai Hua's face was as confident as a whirl, saving God who had descended. He solemnly declared, "Pawn them. These are the best treasures of our sect. Don't call them scrap metal. I really have no other choice. Let's just do what we can. We have to try every last resort, even if all we can catch is a minnow. My beloved disciple, you will go down the mountain with me to sell these things." Su Changju immediately flared up, his face flushing with anger as he yelled, I am not going. I refuse to go with you, and be humiliated. Pawning these things is just too embarrassing. Daoist Taihua hurriedly pulled Su Changju back and said in a sweet, flattering tone, Good disciple. Help your master just this one last time. But his eyes were drawn to what Su Changju was holding. Daoist Taihua asked curiously, Huh? What is this? Sensing something was wrong, Su Changju replied, It's a painting my junior brother drew for me. Don't you have any shame left? Daoist Taihua snatched the painting from Su Changju's hand and ran off, shouting back reproachfully as he fled, The sect is about to be ruined. And you're still in the mood for art, we'll pawn it along with the rest. Every little bit helps. When we have money later, I'll redeem it for you. Su Changju immediately chased after his master to get it back. It's not worth any money, you old man. Give it back. Not long after, the scene changes to the Lizai pawnshop at the foot of the mountain. Seeing two customers arrive, the shopkeeper hurried over with a white, cheerful grin to welcome them. Welcome to the Lizai pawnshop. Esteemed immortals, please come in. I wonder if you are looking to buy or to sell. Daoist Taihua led Su Changju, who stepped forward cautiously. Daoist Taihua smiled and replied, Selling, and it's all good stuff. Daoist Taihua placed a cloth bag on the table. The shopkeeper approached and slowly opened the bag with both hands, his face still smiling brightly at the two customers before him as he continued, Of course. One look is enough to tell that you two have an extraordinary air about you. All right, let me broaden my horizons. Even before looking, I am sure they are of the highest quality. But when he opened the bag, he was utterly shocked. It was full of blackened, old items that looked no different from a pile of scrap metal. The shopkeeper's face froze as if turned to stone. His high hopes were instantly shattered, as if a bucket of cold water had been thrown on him, leaving his expression stiff. But then, a detail startled him even more. Among the items was a book with images more provocative than one could imagine. Damn, this Daoist Taihua is really something else, trying to sell this kind of thing. How ridiculously surreal. The shopkeeper's face turned as red as a ripe tomato. He exclaimed in shock, What is all this? There's even an erotic book. Heavens, it's truly a limited edition collection of the Flower Queen Ling Yuan. Just looking at it gets you all worked up. His secret accidentally exposed, a panicked Daoist Taihua quickly reached out and yelled, Wrong item. That's the wrong item. This isn't for sale. He grabbed the book and stuffed it into his sleeve. His face flushed red, and he stammered childly, Anything else is fine, but this. Even if the sect collapses, I won't sell this. Seeing this, Su Changju, standing beside him, teased, Aster, let me borrow it to look at later. Daoist Taihua chuckled awkwardly. Sure. Then he turned back to the shopkeeper. Take everything. I'll give you a discount. Just 10 taels of gold. How about it? The shopkeeper jumped in shock and yelled, 10 taels of gold. For this pile of scrap metal. Have you gone mad for money? Hearing this, Daoist Taihua flared up in anger. He grabbed a piece of cloth from the table, held it up to the shopkeeper's face, and shouted, What do you mean, scrap metal? Don't be ungrateful. Look at the material of this butt cushion. It's pure silk. This is a great deal for you, you know. The shopkeeper waved a dismissive hand, his voice cold. Then let someone else have this great deal. This gentleman doesn't need it. Instantly, Daoist Taihua's attitude changed, flipping faster than a hot pancake. He smiled fawningly and said, Let's be friends. 8 taels for the whole lot, all right. The shopkeeper still replied with a single, cold word. No. Daoist Taihua's face turned crimson with anger. He held up 5 fingers and yelled, 5 taels, not a copper less. Any lower and I'll really take it somewhere else to pawn. To the side, Su Changju awkwardly raised a hand to scratch his head and sighed, Hi, this is so embarrassing. Let's go, master. Unexpectedly, this action drew the shopkeeper's attention to the object in Su Changju's hand. He turned and pointed curiously at the painting Su Changju was holding. May I see that painting? Su Changju casually handed it over. A painting? Oh, sure. The shopkeeper gently took the painting and carefully began to unroll it. The moment he touched it, he exclaimed, Zayanshuan paper, you two are too much. It's clear you're not short on money. Why must you make things difficult for my humble shop? Hearing this, Daoist Taihua was startled. Is this paper really that valuable? He thought. As he unrolled the painting, the shopkeeper continued his praise, I truly have no eye for things. Zayanshuan paper, just the scroll itself is worth more than 10 taels of gold. Suddenly, the shopkeeper's attention was drawn to the 4 characters in the red seal at the bottom corner of the painting, which gave him a considerable shock. His face contorted, his mind racing to understand the significance as he stammered, unable to form words. After a moment, he turned and waved over a young assistant. How'd come here quickly? I have something to tell you. Dois Tai Hua, who had been standing there this whole time with a head full of question marks, was still trying to process the information. At this point, the shopkeeper pulled Xiaogi into a corner, and they began to whisper urgently. Dois Tai Hua noticed this and vaguely began to guess what might be happening. The shopkeeper and Xiaogi continued to whisper. Second shopkeeper, are you sure? There's no mistake. It's absolutely him, the shopkeeper replied. A moment later, the shopkeeper returned to Dois Tai Hua, his attitude having done a complete 180. He was all smiles as he said, my apologies. We need to have our head shopkeeper take a look at this. Could you possibly wait a moment? The master and disciple duo stood frozen, not understanding what was happening. Sure, they mumbled. An hour later, the second shopkeeper emerged, beaming. The head shopkeeper has spoken. The person who possesses such a masterpiece is definitely no ordinary person. We hope the two of you will stop toying with us. Let's just be honest and name a price. From behind his master, Su Changju innocently replied, what masterpiece? It's just a painting that my junior bro. Before he could finish, Dois Tai Hua clamped a hand over his mouth and hissed, shut your trap. Then he turned back to the shopkeeper, held up 5 fingers, and said, all right, then we won't play around either. We need this much. If you can pay it, we sell. If not, we leave. Inwardly, Dois Tai Hua was laughing and calculating. From their reaction earlier, there must be some misunderstanding. In times like these, one must be bold. Earning 50 taels of gold is definitely possible. It's a good thing I reacted quickly. As for the second shopkeeper, he fell into deep thought upon hearing Dois Tai Hua's price, silently calculating in his head. Su Changju couldn't help but whisper a warning. Master, you're being too greedy. Who would pay 50 taels for a painting? Dois Tai Hua turned slightly and explained in a low voice. What do you know? This is a strategy. After a moment, the second shopkeeper looked resigned. He sighed and said, all right. It's a deal. 5,000 taels it is. Dois Tai Hua, with an arm slung over Su Changju's shoulder and a small grin on his face, whispered, see, you know nothing, you little brat. Suddenly, he realized he must have misheard. His eyes widened in disbelief as he asked, wait, how much did you say? The second shopkeeper held up 5 fingers and smiled. 5,000 taels. Isn't that what you said? The master and disciples' faces went blank. Are you the one joking with us now? The second shopkeeper became flustered and quickly waved his hands. Exalted immortal, how could you say such a thing? We run a legitimate business. We would never speak carelessly. Su Changju's mind was reeling in panic. Heavens, a painting worth 5,000 taels. But that was just something junior brother drew casually. What is happening right now? He glanced at his master, who was still standing there with his chin in his hands, deep in thought. What the hell are you still thinking about? Su Changju screamed internally. Agree to it, quickly. Hurry up, and take the money before they change their minds. The sect was saved. A few seconds later, Dois Tai Hua's expression turned cold, and his voice became deep. My apologies. I think you've misunderstood. What I meant was, 5 myriad taels. The moment the old man spoke, Su Changju nearly had a heart attack, his heart trembling as he thought, damn it, this old man has lost his mind. Startled and panicked, Su Changju turned and asked again, how much did you say? 5 myriad taels, Dois Tai Hua replied decisively. That's right. Not a single coin less. Su Changju was dumbfounded, silently cursing in his heart, Master, can you please be reliable just once? What kind of painting is worth 50,000 taels of gold? Damn it. But unexpectedly, the second shopkeeper burst out laughing. 50,000 taels, you say? Ha ha. The old shopkeeper's judgment was spot on. You two are clearly experts in the field. It seems we can't play any tricks on you. In that case, let's get straight to the point. While 50,000 taels is an astronomical price, for a work by King Lian Jushi, it is indeed possible. The master and disciple froze once again, shocked to their core. 50,000 taels. Dois Tai Hua's mind reeled. What the hell, seriously? I was just bluffing and threw out a random number. What kind of painting is worth 50,000 taels? Finding a new sense of confidence, Dois Tai Hua calmed himself and thought, something is suspicious. Stay calm, stay calm. I must remain composed and play along with his words. Returning to reality, he stood with his arms crossed, looking perfectly calm. He chuckled softly and said, indeed. It should have been like this from the start. To tell you the truth, we already inquired about the price at several other shops. But the works of King Lianjushi should only be handled by your shop. The second shopkeeper smiled brightly. That's right. The name King Lianjushi is certainly no secret among us in the industry. Although he only recently emerged, he is already considered the #1 talent in the kingdom of Jin. Not only is his calligraphy masterful and sublime, but his painting talent is beyond question. Today, countless women in the kingdom of Jin are mesmerized by his poetry. Damn, did the author have to draw him like that? It gets all of us brothers fired up. The second shopkeeper continued his praise of King Lianjushi. Beautiful women dream of his face night after night, and countless arrogant scholars use various methods to imitate and analyze his works. His painting style is unprecedented, and has sparked a renaissance in the art world that transcends the era. It's just a pity that after his works became known, the man himself vanished without a trace. The world has not yet had a chance to witness his disappearance. The ancients valued reputation the most. What scholar doesn't want their name to echo through the world, and be revered by all? But this King Lianjushi alone pays it no mind, departing freely. How can people not admire him? Am I right, you too? After hearing the tale of this so-called King Lianjushi, Dois Tai Hua and Su Changju stood frozen in thought. Did I hear that right? Are they talking about my clueless little disciple? But Dois Tai Hua quickly regained his composure, and replied calmly, indeed. That is exactly what we have heard. Su Changju turned to look at Dois Tai Hua in surprise, thinking to himself, damn it. Master is bluffing and deceiving people again. The second shopkeeper picked up the painting, examined it for a moment, and then spoke. Then you must have also heard that this painting has one major flaw. Because this is a portrait, its price is a world apart from his specialized landscape paintings. Hearing this, Su Changju gave an embarrassed laugh and scratched his head, thinking, ah ha ha, is that so? And here I thought my peerless beauty would make the painting's value skyrocket. How embarrassing. But suddenly, Dois Tai Hua shot a dangerous, threatening glare at Su Changju and warned him under his breath. Su Changju, he dared to laugh. Didn't you hear him? The price is a world apart. Terrified, Su Changju quickly replied, Master, calm down. He hasn't said how much we'll lose yet. The second shopkeeper gritted his teeth and said, it will lose at least several myriad taels. What a waste of a heavenly gift. Dois Tai Hua's eyes filled with murderous intent as he glanced at his eldest disciple, and muttered, my dear disciple, I really want to eat you alive right now. Completely raw. Su Changju's voice trembled with fear as he quickly reminded him, Master, calm down, you'll blow our cover. Dois Tai Hua calmly sat down, lifted a teacup, and said calmly, enough talk. Just give us a price. If it's lower than the others, we'll leave immediately. The second shopkeeper chuckled and replied, 1 myriad taels. That is the highest price we can offer. After all, this is not a pure landscape painting, and it has no poetic inscription. Before the shopkeeper could even finish his sentence, Dois Tai Hua's voice cut him off, deal. The word came out so quickly that the shopkeeper was startled, and asked, you're not going to haggle further? Dois Tai Hua continued to maintain his calm facade and replied in a deep voice, there's no need. I can see you are an honest man, give us the money. What a damn lie. A painting that Ye Ping casually drew was worth 10,000 taels of gold, saving a sect at the very bottom of society from a pit of mud. The scene changes to that afternoon. After the transaction was complete and the money was received, the master and disciple set off on their way back. Walking behind, Su Changju asked, Master, I thought you were going to try another shop. Dois Tai Hua, walking with a sense of urgency, replied, we have to be reasonable. When you see a good deal, you close it. With our meager strength, he glanced seriously at Su Changju and continued, if word got out, do you think we could escape? A gentleman is innocent, but his wealth makes him guilty. Hearing his master's analysis, Su Changju gave a thumbs up in flattery. Master is truly wise. Why didn't I think of that? Dois Tai Hua replied with a smug look on his face, of course. Otherwise, how could I be your master? Haha, truly like master, like disciple. This god-tier ability to bluff seems to have been passed down from Dois Tai Hua to Su Changju. But it seems that when it gets to Ye Ping, this tradition of bluffing will likely be lost. Back in the present, Dois Tai Hua took out the bank draft from the sale of the painting, and the two of them stood there admiring it. They were overjoyed. Dois Tai Hua held the draft up high and exclaimed with a wide grin, this is 10,000 taels, we're rich. I've never held so much money in my entire life. The sect is revived. Haha, Suddenly, Daoist Taihua turned and smacked Su Changju on the head several times, shouting, "And it's all your fault for asking for a portrait. A portrait. It cost us several myriad taels." Su Changju cried out in pain. "Oh, ow, ow, how was I supposed to know a portrait wasn't worth as much?" Daoist Taihua held the bank draft, staring at it thoughtfully. What is little Yeping's background, really? To hide so many secrets from us? Su Changju turned and replied, "Maybe our junior brother has reasons he can't speak of. I don't think he's a bad person." In his heart, Su Changju thought. Or maybe he himself doesn't know anything. "And what about that expensive paper?" Daoist Taihua said with a serious expression. "I also feel that the boy is not pretending to be naive. If only the two of us know about this, then let's not actively pry into it. Everyone has their own secrets. When he wants to talk about it, he will naturally tell us." Hearing his master from behind, Su Changju spoke up, "It's rare to see you so serious. With your personality, I thought you would go back and tell him to paint a few more." Daoist Taihua replied in an annoyed tone, "Why are you so talkative today? Let's go." Su Changju asked curiously, "Go where?" Daoist Taihua turned his head back, glanced at Su Changju, and replied with a slight smile, "Our junior brother did our sect such a huge favor. Shouldn't we give him a proper reward?" "A reward?" Su Changju asked, surprised. After walking for a while, the master and disciple arrived at a large building with a sign that read "Mi Yuanj." Looking up, Su Changju was shocked. "Master, don't tell me you want to go to the secret origin pavilion." Continuing from the last chapter, the Green Lotus Sword Song painting that Ye Ping had gifted to Su Changju should have sold for around 50,000 taels of gold. However, because it had Su Changju's face on it, the painting ultimately sold for just over 10,000 taels of gold. After successfully duping the pawnshop owner, the master and disciple duo were ecstatic, bursting with joy as a glimmer of light had appeared to save their sect from hardship. The two of them walked along, unable to stop admiring the bank draft in their hands. Once they had money, the thought of saving the sect was put on hold. The two decided to visit the Mi Yuan Pavilion, reasoning that since their little junior brother had done such a great service for the sect, they should repay him with a gift. As for how they would repay him, please read on. Su Changju turned to Daoist Taihua and asked, "Hey, master, have you been smoking something? Are you high? This is the most expensive shop in Baiguo City." Daoist Taihua stepped forward, his back to Su Changju, and retorted, "High on what? What the hell are you afraid of? This money was earned by our little junior brother in the first place. If he's a genius, we should spare no effort in nurturing him. It's all for the future of our King Yun Dao sect. Don't be fooled by my usual greedy and lecherous demeanor at critical moments. My head is perfectly clear. You can rest assured. In the future, when the sect ascends to the third rank, or even the first rank, we might have to rely on him." Su Changju's face changed as he shouted a warning, "But this is the Mi Yuan Pavilion. I heard the prices are terrifying. You'd better have the guts to step inside, otherwise I'll have to rush you to the emergency room later, and that'll be a pain." Daoist Taihua immediately whipped out the bank draft, waving it confidently. "How expensive can it be? With a bank draft like this, just relax. A boy. What's the problem? Alright, no more arguing. Just act like you have money for me. Confidence, the key to being a tycoon is confidence, ha ha ha." As the master and disciple pushed open the door, they were greeted by a sight to behold. Two beautiful young ladies, as fresh as pomelos, stepped forward, striking a cute pose with their fingers forming a heart. In a flirtatious tone, they chirped, "Welcome to the Mi Yuan Pavilion. Esteemed immortals, please come in." Daoist Taihua nearly had a nosebleed on the spot. His eyes went wide, and he thought to himself, "Oh my god, the world of the wealthy is truly high quality. Look at this scene, and then remember that old man who greeted us earlier. Damn, this is worth every penny." The beautiful lady in red approached and continued, "May I ask if you two would like to purchase a magical artifact or a secret manual?" Daoist Taihua, holding a fan in his right hand, fanned himself to create an air of importance. "A secret manual. The best kind. What are the prices?" The lady in red immediately put on a flirtatious, fawning smile. "I could tell at a glance that you desire something with class. The price for a first bank secret manual set here is around 100,000 taels. We are currently having an anniversary event, so this price is already a 30% discount. Holy heavens and earth, did I hear that right?" Su Changju's jaw dropped so low his molars nearly hit the floor as he screamed, "How? How? How much?" The lady in purple swayed and winked at Su Changju. "It's only a few 100,000 taels of gold, handsome sir. After the event is over, you won't find a price this cheap again." Su Changju's heart turned to stone as he thought, "Sheet. Did she just call a price of over 100,000 taels cheap? The world of the rich is truly something the poor cannot even imagine. My poverty has limited my imagination. Even if I sold my body, it wouldn't be enough to even touch it. Seeing his eldest disciple on the verge of collapse, Daoist Taihua quickly whispered a reminder, "What are you panicking for? Calm down. Show some damn promise." But Su Changju could no longer remain calm. With sweat pouring down his face, he replied, "But our money isn't even close to enough to buy one set. I told you not to come in here. You're really stubborn, and hard to reason with at your age." And so, Daoist Taihua turned to the beautiful lady and asked, "If we only need the introductory volume, how much would that be?" Su Changju was startled by his master's quick thinking, and the complete lack of panic on his face. As expected of someone with experience. He's built different. The lady in purple began to look flustered. "Just the introductory volume." "Are you sure, sir? Buying just one volume will be useless." "I don't care if it's useful or not," Daoist Taihua replied. "I'm just asking if it's possible." The lady in purple quickly replied, "It is possible, but you should still think it over. Our shop does not allow returns or exchanges." "How much for one first rank introductory volume?" Daoist Taihua pressed. "Of course the full set is much cheaper," the lady in purple answered. Growing impatient, Su Changju turned to remind his master, "Stay calm, master, don't act out just to save face. 10,000 taels for an introductory volume that's useless is not worth it." Daoist Taihua turned and whispered back, "What do you mean, useless? Have you forgotten how monstrous our little junior brother's comprehension is? An introductory volume is more than enough." His master's words exploded in his ears like thunder, stunning Su Changju. "Oh damn, that's right, how did I forget?" From just a simple sword mark, he comprehended an entire sword art. With an introductory volume, wouldn't he? No, I dare not think further. Yes, master is right. For a monster like that kid, the introductory volume is definitely enough. It's absolutely perfect. We're going to be rich this time. Ha ha ha. A while later, the lady in purple returned with several manuals. "I've asked the shopkeeper. These 3 first-rank introductory volumes can all be sold to you individually." Daoist Taihua pointed his fan at the manuals. "Excuse me, which one is the most powerful?" The lady in purple smiled. "The most powerful is, of course, the river-piercing sword art. Once mastered, its power is as mighty as a great river. It's truly top tier. Furthermore, it contains a related high-level technique. If the cultivator has exceptional talent, they might even comprehend the Sea of Spirits sword art, a higher-level technique. However, it is also the most expensive. The introductory volume alone is 9,000 taels of gold." Daoist Taihua nearly fainted. His heart itched as he thought, a single volume is that expensive. But damn it, I've already come this far. Might as well get the most expensive one. His face flushing, he roared, "Wrap it up for me. With the remaining money, get me some top-grade Kai refining pills and Kai benefiting pills." Standing to the side, Su Changju's face paled at his master's willingness to spend. He muttered he really meant it when he said he would spare no effort. Damn, is he really going all in like this? We're going to be eating dirt again when we get back. Oh, will these days of poverty never end? Su Changju forced a smile. "Master, are you sure you haven't been possessed today?" Daoist Taihua's face contorted as he held out the bank draft with both hands. "Less talk. My 10,000 taels." Seeing him clutching it tightly, the lady in purple had to remind him, "Please let go, sir. Do you still intend to buy it?" On their way out, Daoist Taihua threw his arms around Su Changju and sobbed, "Why it hurts so much. Changju, it really, really hurts." Su Changju looked thoroughly fed up. "Who told you to show off for a pretty girl?" "Master, that's enough, you've been crying the whole way. It's so embarrassing." Suddenly, a thought flashed through Daoist Taihua's mind, and he gasped, "Oh, that's right. I just remembered. Aren't your 2nd and 3rd junior brothers participating in the Alchemist and Formation Master examinations at the end of the year?" "I think so," Su Changju replied, surprised. "What about it? Do you want to go back? We're out of money anyway." "How can we go back?" Daoist Taihua exclaimed. "Besides, for the next 2 months, just mentioning money makes me uncomfortable. I'm taking you somewhere else to buy treasures." The scene shifted to a market square. A bald, middle-aged man sat in the middle of the market, displaying old, tattered books on the ground and hawking his wares. "Secret manuals for sale. Secret manuals here. Selling by the kilo. 10 taels of gold per kilo. It's a loss if I don't sell, a loss if I don't sell." Seeing the master and disciple approach, the bald man smiled. "Eat too. Want to buy a few colors? Su Changju was speechless. Dan, master's favoritism is insane. Daoist Taiho whispered, don't look down on it just because it's cheap. There are real treasures in here. Where do you think the Four Seasons sword art came from? He then turned, crouched down to look at the pile of manuals, and said, 1 kilo for 10 taels. Are you a robber? 10 taels for 10 kilos. If you'll sell, I'll buy. The bald man quickly waved his hands. No way. My goods are high quality my ass. Daoist Taiho muttered. Who are you trying to fool? Hurry up and sell. Are you selling or not? If not, we're leaving. 5 kilos, the bald man quickly countered. 5 kilos is the most I can do. Ignoring his master's haggling, Su Changju walked over to a nearby pile of books and sat down to see what they were. The moment he looked, he was shocked. What the hell kind of secret manuals are these? The first title was a perfect beginning. A peerless, strange phenomenon. The next was 10 dragons, 10 elephants, primordial spirit art, a powerful secret art where one's primordial spirit transforms into the strength of 10 dragons and 10 elephants, symbolizing an unparalleled force capable of suppressing the world. And the last one was... At night, the master's wife knocks on my door. Damn it, this one needed no explanation. Seeing this, Su Changju gritted his teeth in disgust. What is all this nonsense? How can anyone cultivate with this crap? If anyone can, dear father will publicly eat 3 pounds of snot, damn it.